Libido isn't extra in later life. It is often a powerful signal that the body and the spirit still feel alive and connected and well.
Libido is not just about reproduction. It's an indication of your overall vitality.
I think a healthy sex drive often reflects our healthy hormones, our good circulation, nervous system balance, and emotional connection. Welcome back to the Eversio Experience podcast. I'm Brandi Garden.
And I'm Dr. Desiree Caruso, Naturopathic Doctor.
Today, we are going into one of my favorite topics because it is spicy and it is sciencey. And today we are talking about cordyceps mushrooms for sexual health for both men and for women.
So we're going to talk about libido, hormones, energy, fertility, and healthy aging.
Yes. We're going to ground today's episode in two scientific research papers because so often we hear people saying, I talked to my doctor about using medicinal mushrooms and they said there's no research. And that's a real pain point for us because there is a ton of research out there, over 7,000 papers right now on PubMed looking at things, and they're not all great. That's the thing, is they're not all great. But as technology advances and we can read papers with more skill using the technology available to help us with that, Dr. Desiree and I read so much great research, and we thought it's time we share some of the specifics with you. So in today's episode, we are really going to review two scientific research papers. One was published in the journal Nutrients in 2021, so quite current, by a researcher named Kusama.
And another one was published in 2022 by Yang and colleagues in the BMC, Complementary Medicine and Therapies. And it was using a menopause model, which is a really big hot topic in health and wellness and in our community as well.
Okay, so before we dive in, quick reminder, this episode is education only. It's not medical advice, but this is our proof to you that there is good research out there on medicinal mushrooms, and I'm excited to share it with you. So, Dr. Desiree, why does cordyceps even come up when people talk about sex drive?
It's because Cordyceps militaris is known as a tonic mushroom. And a tonic is basically something that helps your body feel stronger over time.
Okay, so it's not like a quick hit then.
Exactly. It's not like caffeine. It is more like, let's support your energy, your stress response, your hormones, and your metabolism so that your body actually has the capacity for desire.
So because libido isn't just hormones, it is energy.
Yes. If your body is exhausted, if you are stressed, inflamed, or your blood sugar is a mess, libido usually disappears, and that is normal. That's a normal body response.
Did you hear that, audience? If your blood sugar is a mess, that could have something to do with your libido. This could be a big thing. So in this episode, we're going to talk about both men and women. We're going to talk about men first. So let's start with this first paper. Kusama and his fellow researchers in 2021, the paper was titled Cordyceps militaris fruiting body extract. That's important. We're always going to bring you research that's about fruiting body extract products because that's what we love. That's what we take every day. Decreases testosterone catabolism and testosterone-stimulated prostate hypertrophy.
Okay, that title sounds very intense if you're listening. Let's translate it into plain English.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so this paper is basically asking two questions. Number one, can cordyceps help the body keep testosterone from breaking down too fast? And number two, can it do that without making the prostate grow bigger?
Okay. And testosterone is the big male drive hormone.
Exactly. Testosterone helps with libido, which is our sex drive, energy, motivation, mood, muscle strength, fertility.
Like the things that all of the men in my circle of friends are talking about all of the time. And this paper also talks about DHT. What is that, Dr. Des?
DHT stands for dihydrotestosterone, and it is basically a stronger form of testosterone. So you can think of testosterone like a regular key, and DHT is like a master key, which turns certain locks more powerfully in the body.
So DHT matters for sexual function too.
Yes, but it is complicated because DHT is also involved in things like prostate growth as well as hair loss. So you don't want it wildly unbalanced.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about testosterone catabolism. So this is the big science word that Kusama uses, testosterone catabolism. Tell us about that.
So the word catabolism means breakdown. So testosterone catabolism means how quickly your body breaks down testosterone and clears it out.
So if catabolism is high,
then testosterone levels can drop faster even if your body is still making some.
Interesting, interesting. And in this paper, they found that Cordyceps militaris fruiting body extract may decrease testosterone catabolism.
Meaning that it may help your body hold on to testosterone longer.
Wow, could be a game changer. Such a big deal because it means that it's not forcing your body to do something unnatural. And we
Right.
have so many people in our community that are tempted to just go right to hormone replacement therapy and, help the body out. But you're saying naturally there are things in nature that could just help us support what the body wants to do naturally.
Yeah, right. So it's more like helping your body stop leaking testosterone too fast. And we've heard the term andropause or manopause. And so this could be something that could be helping this
Yeah.
pathway, this mechanism.
Okay,
hmm
so let's talk about male menopause then. Let's talk about this question of aging. Many men experience this slow testosterone decline, and I know that looks like lower sex drive, fatigue, depression, muscle weakness, body aches for so many.
Yeah, and clinically, sometimes this is called LOH, which is late onset hypogonadism.
Okay, those words need translation.
Totally. So let's break it down. Late onset means that it happens later in life.
Okay.
Hypo means low.
Okay.
Gonadism refers to the sex glands, so testes in men. So LOH, late onset hypogonadism, basically means testosterone output is getting lower with age.
And when testosterone drops, libido often drops with it. Starting to make sense. Okay. So another big term that Kusama uses in this research is prostate hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy means getting bigger.
Okay. So prostate hypertrophy means,
The prostate gland is enlarging.
and why does that matter?
Okay, so this matters because the prostate wraps around the urethra, which is the tube that carries urine out. So when the
Ugh.
prostate grows, it can potentially squeeze that tube and cause symptoms like weak urine stream, frequent urination, waking up at night to pee, trouble fully emptying the bladder. So those are just some of the most common symptoms with this.
Yeah. And super common in older men.
Yeah, totally. And it's often called BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia.
Hmm. And I think another key point in the research is that it looked at testosterone stimulated prostate hypertrophy.
Right. Meaning, so when testosterone is present, it can sometimes signal the prostate to grow. So many men worry that testosterone support equals prostate problems.
But in this paper, it suggests that Cordyceps militaris can support testosterone status while also helping protect against that prostate enlargement signal.
And that's what makes it so interesting.
So let's talk about the actual Cordyceps mushroom itself, this whole extract versus what else is being offered out there. So, one of the key points from Kusama was that they found differences between using the whole fruiting body extract and compared it to isolated cordycepin, which is something we test for in our products because there's so much research on what the cordycepin is doing there. We don't isolate it out, we just show that it is one of the many compounds in there.
Exactly. Cordycepin is one compound found in Cordyceps militaris, but this research suggests that the whole extract behaves differently than just cordycepin alone.
So, this supports the idea that cordyceps is not one magic chemical, it is a full orchestra.
Exactly. So sometimes taking just one isolated ingredient can change the effect in
Yeah. And
comparison to the whole fruiting body.
it shows up in, we're talking about cordyceps and libido and sexual health today, but it's no different than all of the mushrooms. And when we look at the research of the isolated compounds, and so far we're not convinced that it's the way to go. And I think at the end of this study, they actually said they got the opposite effect they were hoping for when they isolated just that one. Okay,
Mhm.
so let's move on to women then. So I think that the second paper, so this was Young and his colleagues in 2022 with a paper called System Level Investigation of Anti-Obesity Effects and the Potential Pathways of Cordyceps militaris in Overrectomized Rats.
And again, an intense title, so let's translate it.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So overrectomized rats means that the rats had their ovaries removed
Why would the researchers do that?
because ovaries produce hormones like estrogen. So removing ovaries creates this low estrogenic state, which in research, it is mimicking a state that's similar to menopause.
Okay, so this paper is basically exploring what happens to metabolism in menopause and can cordyceps help?
Mhm.
So I think that, the question is this is important because women think libido is just hormones. They think the reason I have no libido anymore is because of my age. And this research really looked at whether or not that was true.
Exactly, because metabolism and hormones are deeply connected. And we think of metabolism, we think of blood sugar, we think of our digestion, being able to break things down. They are deeply connected. Menopause is not just my hormones are out of whack, that is a symptom of everything else that's going on as well.
Okay, so if you're gaining weight, you're inflamed, you're exhausted, and you know that your blood sugar is unstable.
Libido often will disappear during this time, and it's not because something is wrong with you, but
Okay.
it is because your body is in survival mode.
All right, so let's look at this menopausal obesity question and what I hear so often on social media these days being called the menopause middle, um, which I just think creates a terrible image. But these researchers specifically investigated anti-obesity effects of Cordyceps militaris in this menopause model that they
Mhm.
created.
Yeah, totally. And obesity here doesn't mean that you look a certain way. It really just means increased fat storage and metabolic dysfunction.
And they found that Cordyceps militaris prevented weight gain and fat accumulation in these rats.
Yes, exactly. And so the paper also discussed certain genes like ACACB. So a gene is basically a recipe that your body uses to make a protein that controls certain functions. So ACACB, this particular gene, is involved in fat metabolism. And fat
Hmm.
metabolism is how the body stores and burns fat.
So, in plain terms, it's like a fat storage switch.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. So, I think the most exciting part for me is that the researchers really explored estrogen receptor signaling, especially this ER alpha. Can you talk about that?
ER alpha means estrogen receptor alpha, and a receptor is like a lock on a cell. It only activates when the right key fits.
And estrogen is the key?
Yes, so when estrogen drops in menopause, many locks don't get activated that same way.
Ah, which affects hot flashes and mood and dryness and libido.
Correct.
Okay, so the researchers suggested that Cordyceps militaris can show estrogenetic agonist activity, meaning that it can help activate estrogen receptor pathways.
Yeah, and an important note here is that this is not hormone replacement, but what it is suggesting is that cordyceps may influence estrogen signaling, and this
Mm,
is very relevant in menopause.
yes, yes, please. And I love that the paper went on to look at the liver health in general, and the paper discussed menopause related liver changes like liver hypertrophy.
And again, hypertrophy means enlarged. So, liver hypertrophy means that the liver gets bigger. This is often due to fat accumulation and metabolic stress. People may have heard the term non alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yes.
So, this liver is getting bigger. There's some dysfunction there.
Okay, so why do we care about the liver in an episode about libido?
Because the liver helps process hormones, and
Ah,
it also plays a big role in blood sugar, inflammation, and detoxification pathways.
everything's connected. So if the liver is sluggish, then hormones can get messy.
Mhm.
Okay, so the last thing they looked at was the P13K ACT signaling pathway. Tell us about that.
So it is a big medical phrase, but here is the
Yeah.
simple meaning is that it is one of the body's main communication highways that tells cells how to use glucose, how to store fat, survive stress, and how to regulate metabolism.
So, like a metabolism control center.
Yeah.
Okay. And then blood sugar. Let's look at insulin resistance because the researchers here explored other genes like PRKCI and PRKCZ, and they were looking related to glucose regulation.
And these genes have been found to help control how cells are responding to insulin, which is important for blood sugar regulation.
Yeah. So insulin is
Insulin is a hormone and it helps move sugar from your blood into your cells for energy.
okay. And insulin resistance then is when the door stops opening properly. So sugar stays in the blood instead of going into the cells, which causes fatigue and cravings and inflammation and weight gain, and your libido drops.
Exactly. So these researchers also highlighted three key compounds in the study. So one being cordycepin, adenine, and guanosine. And what's really interesting is that the paper suggests that they affect different pathways, meaning they're not all doing the same job. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, cordyceps acts like a whole team, supporting your hormones, supporting your metabolism, and supporting your energy, not just energy. Like we hear so many people that's why they're coming to cordyceps is for the
Mhm.
energy, but it's this whole team supporting those three things at once.
Here's another caveat to that is that the researchers didn't directly measure libido, but it does give strong mechanistic evidence that cordyceps may support the systems that influence libido in menopause, like energy, weight regulation, blood sugar, and estrogen signaling. And so when we think of cordyceps, if you think, I really want to try cordyceps, what's a practical way to use cordyceps and to really optimize the benefits? So here are some practical tips. Taking it consistently, so 6 to 12 weeks. If you're not taking it for a minimum of 6 weeks, you can't really evaluate the efficacy of
Hmm.
cordyceps. Research on functional mushrooms in general supports consistent and prolonged use. Try it for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Another thing is take it earlier in the day. Cordyceps does have these energizing properties, so if you take it a little bit earlier, then you can really reap the benefits throughout the day. Maybe you notice that sustained energy throughout the day as opposed to taking it later. You want to make sure you're choosing fruiting body extracts, and you can even pair it with protein and strength training. So some people are really leaning on cordyceps as this all natural pre-workout. So
Hmm.
they're using it to build muscle mass to really optimize their strength training, weight training. So if you are taking it with a meal and optimizing your muscle mass and exercise capacity in that way. But then also another practical tip is address sleep and stress because libido needs safety. That's a big thing.
So you're saying I can't just take cordyceps and then I'm going to feel amazing. I have to also think about what I'm eating, consider
Yeah.
the amount of protein I'm getting. I have to be doing some type of physical, whether it's strength training, something else. I have to be sleeping and I have to manage my You mean I have to do the boring basics, Dr. Detz?
Yes, they are the
They
foundations of health.
they are. Okay. So, I love reviewing the research like that, and I love that we talked about research on women, which I think is we're
Mhm.
still unfortunately underrepresented, but, this was a good case where they did, I think, a good job of showing how one mushroom can affect men and women in such important complementary ways, and I think that libido really does matter for both men and women later in life because it's so closely tied to overall vitality, not just desire, like we might have been taught. I think a healthy sex drive often reflects our healthy hormones, our good circulation, nervous system balance, and emotional connection, and even our confidence and our self worth. I think in
Mhm.
long term relationships, like the one I'm so lucky to have with my husband, libido can help intimacy and bonding stay alive, which in turn helps support mental health and reduces loneliness. And we know there is a loneliness epidemic on our planet right now. And then on a physical level, libido can support better sleep, stress relief, and improved mood because of the feel good brain chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin it helps to produce. So to me, libido isn't extra in later life. It is often a powerful signal that the body and the spirit still feel alive and connected and well. And, I've always believed there's a mushroom for every moment. And I also believe that our purpose here is to love and be loved. And for me, cordyceps supports that energy at its core.
Well said. All of that. Spoken like a true mushroom nerd. And I think you nailed it and brought it all home that libido is not just about reproduction and it matters.
Yes.
it matters, and it's an indication of your overall vitality. So that's all for today, fungi friends. If you loved this episode, please share it with someone who needs their vitality back. And take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that we can keep bringing the science of mushroom wellness to you and those you love. Until next time, we'll see you on the Eversio Experience podcast. Be well, everyone.
Bye. We hope that you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushrooms to your life, then you can use code PODCAST15 to save 15% on your entire order at EversioWellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. And if you're not sure where to start, you can take our Mushroom Wellness quiz. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.